soccer star Ronaldo's been sold to Real Madrid for £80 million. But what else could be done with that amount of cash? The answer is all three.
Thank you very much. You're watching The Right Stuff. We're live on 5. We've got Head of Small Head, Dr. David Bull, and our very special guest, Sean Maguire. Still to come this morning, I want to find out if you think jock is a racist slur, or possibly, I'm going to suggest a term of affection. I mean, surely jock can't be on the same level as the N-word. 0207 173 5555 is the number if you've got something to say. First, though, we're going to look at the headlines. What have you got for us, Sean? Yes, you.
Me?
You're on.
Yes, right. Well, obviously, there's a lot of things, Matthew. A lot of news. This man has worn a red jacket. Apparently, a lot of people are very angry about that. Here, he's wearing socks. Clearly, he's a fool. I think there's swine flu. I was just asking the good doctor about that, because I left America, and in a country of 300 million people, they were saying there are over 8 cases of swine flu. I'm like, but there's 300 million people. More people will die by falling off a toilet seat than...
Yeah.
But whatever, what do I know about medicine?
First I heard about it was coming into an airport.
But the other story is Ronaldo has been sold for 80 million, and I don't know if there's anyone out there, and I don't like to be negative about anyone on TV, but...
Just go back to swine flu.
Don't you? Isn't he annoying? I mean, he's a really good footballer. Nobody can take that away from him, but I really don't like him. I'm very glad that he's going to Madrid.
Man United's going to be... Just go back on the swine flu. It's worth saying that they're saying that because it's now becoming a pandemic, that schools are going to be shut, which means children's education is going to be affected. But, I mean, other than that, I don't know what else we can say.
Well,
really.
I mean, I think that the important thing to stress is this is actually quite a serious threat. And the reason it's a pandemic is because it's now in 74 countries. The thing to do is not to be overly concerned because it doesn't seem that severe at the moment. And what we're waiting for is to see what happens in the winter now in Australia, and then what happens to us as we go into the autumn here. And you've got to remember, people do die of flu, and I think already we've had 144 deaths from this. So I think
around the world, not only
throughout the world.
Yeah.
But you've got to remember the people who have pre-existing conditions are vulnerable to flu. So I think all the doctors, we're now at a state saying this is a serious threat. How serious is it? Let's want to watch.
It's the word pandemic that scares.
Yeah, because it sounds like epidemic, but pandemic just means it's around the world,
correct,
around the place. So it's not the
it's different.
So Ronaldo's leaving Man United. We've done that. What else have you got?
I really didn't do my research backstage. There's a guy who filmed his best friend on a motorcycle at 170 miles an hour, and then he crashed and he died.
And
I suppose that's a cautionary tale, really.
The guy
Don't drive at
it all.
170 miles an hour.
How he died is pretty grisly, I have to say. Did you read that?
No.
He clipped a car, went under a camper van, and was decapitated. Other things. So it's all caught on this video.
My goodness!
This is the best one. I'm sorry. There was young Garrett Blake was hit by a meteorite at 30,000 miles an hour, but he lived. You know why? Because it was smaller than blue tack. It was. It's the most ridiculous.
It's like a pea.
That's not a meteorite. That's not a meteorite.
Well, I don't understand.
I think he's just making that up.
He said he was standing around. He could watch this thing of flame coming through the sky at him, right?
So flame coming towards him, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my god! Whatever will I?
Then he says it bounced off him, but after bouncing off him, it made a foot-wide crater in the ground.
The story should be is how big a liar is this child?
What a load of rubbish! I can't imagine it bounced off him at all. I think he might have stood nearby. I think it seems more plausible. Nice one, Sean. What have you got, Heather?
Well, this is quite a serious story, really, and it's George Kinsella, the father of Ben Kinsella, who was stabbed 11 times last year in June, and he says that knife crime is embedded in the heart of Britain. It's here in the Daily Telegraph, and
so the trial of his killers has been going on, hasn't it?
and he says that parents now live in fear of their children not returning from home, and that this innocent boy who had nothing to do with it, did the adult thing and tried to walk away from these boys, was just hounded. They were out to harm somebody and they didn't care who. And apparently this all started in a pub because somebody looked at somebody the wrong way.
Yeah.
And you do...
An argument over respect.
Yeah, and the Detective Chief Inspector John McDonald says Ben ran into 3 cowards. They were older, they were bigger, and he had no chance.
The family made statements yesterday to the court. The 3 guys have been found guilty, responsible for it. The sentencing is to be decided today. The family is arguing, let's give these guys long sentences. We shall see. Yeah. We shall see.
Can you put the picture of them back up again, the 3 of them, just for a second? This pretty much sums it up. I don't know if you. Sorry, I don't know if you can go back. But even in their mugshots, they look like whatever. I'm like, you've been arrested for stabbing someone. Wouldn't it be time to sort of accept that you're a screw up? Look, even in the picture, they're like bothered. You're like, well, you should be. You're going to jail for a long time. I hope they're going to jail for a long time.
But what the rest of society says, it doesn't matter to those boys because it's a certain culture that they belong to, and that's who they look to for admiration and...
well, they're going to be looking for admiration from very different people for the next couple of years in the showers.
But it's a very... I mean, it's an incredibly sad indictment, and particularly when you have to have scanners outside schools to stop people going in with knives. Yes, I think we have, and I think we've adopted the gang culture, and we've got to do something about it.
Okay. So sad.
Rhetoric is not enough. The next story here is the Daily Mirror, and it's Calais Tory Peter Lilly has astonishingly attacked benefits handed out to pregnant women.
I didn't know pregnant women got benefits.
Well, apparently they do, and they get £190 just before the baby's born. But he says...
and then you get another couple of hundred when the baby is born, right? When do I get my money for not cluttering up the planet?
But you're not pregnant. You're not bringing another life into this world, and I think it's right.
Another consumer, another polluter.
It says Mr. Lilly was...
Matthew wants money for being...
No, for being Matthew. For being Matthew. The right stuff already does that, doesn't it?
Rewarding people for breeding. Since when has the act of breeding required financial reward?
No.
Sometimes to slip one past the keeper, you should get a reward.
It's not fair.
It is fair, and it says here, there's a Miss Keeble, MP for Northampton North, says that clear medical evidence says that supporting women during pregnancy helps babies to tackle their problems of low birth and underweight. And if it helps a mother and it helps a baby, it's right in my book. And he's definitely...
In your face, Matthew, right? Yes, when are white middle-class men going to get a break? Exactly. When are we going to ease up?
I knew you'd understand. I knew you'd understand. I'll tell you what, it's rather worrying. That's the first time in my life I've had anything in common with Peter Lilly. I hope as soon as this show does. Right, anything else there?
Yes, I have here in the Times. It says that stillbirth risk tripled at home with home deliveries with private midwives. And apparently women who give birth at home with an independent midwife are nearly 3 times as likely to have a stillbirth. And they're saying, and I think it's more prevalent because the women who have complications in their, as they're saying, in their pregnancies, still want to have the option of having a home birth. And because the NHS doesn't have the funding to do this, or the right medical care, they don't have enough midwives, they go to independent midwives. And so it's usually higher risk women who are going to the independent midwives. So, of course, I think the risk of stillbirth or anything like that...
So it's not necessarily the quality of the midwives, it's the fact that people may be discouraged from having home births but deciding to press those.
Yes, because I think they
ring true with you, David?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite controversial, and I think it depends who you talk to in terms of home birthing, whether the obstetrician, you know, there are different camps who are pro-home birthing, those that are against home birthing. My concern is when you have someone high risk, I'd like them in a hospital. Yeah. But that's my personal opinion.
One more for you, Heather?
Yes. Oh, this one is funny. This is in The Sun. It says, a long stretch. Car crook face prison jibes over being 7'4" tall. Yes, one of Britain's tallest men has begged the judge not to send him to jail because he's 7 foot tall and he might be bullied.
Oh!
Don't we feel for him? Yes.
No.
Now prison chiefs are looking for a bed that will fit him because he's still going to jail.
This is about laughing very long.
The crime is car theft.
I can't believe the nerve. The nerve. I might be bullied because
That's kind of funny, though, don't you think?
Yeah, unless he's
kind of hilarious.
In which case you think he deserves it.
You deserve it.
OK, Dave, what have you got down?
Well, I told you, you know, after all the election furore and the MP's expenses, it's back on the agenda, and this is The Sun reporting this. Shahid Malik, do you remember? He was the Justice Minister.
He was in, he was out, he got back in again.
Then he's been cleared. He's now in again as Community Secretary. However, he's in deep trouble again because allegedly he's provided no rental agreement or receipts to support his claims, and people have complained to the Parliamentary Standards Commission.
The claim is that the first allegation was that he was getting discounted
rent. That's right.
That's because it's a financial benefit. He should declare that straight away.
So he was allegedly getting discounted rent, which he was then having the full claim for, so therefore was benefiting. But it also then transpires that he claimed $6,500 for a second office in his constituency,
which was in his own home.
Yeah. So this is going to run and run and run, and obviously the newspapers are out to get these MPs. And quite frankly, if they've done something wrong, they should go, whichever party they're in.
Out, brought back in again. Now another inquiry. Should say he denies doing anything wrong whatsoever.
Yes.
But it's I don't know.
I did say these allegations. It's under investigation. This is a really sad story in the Daily Telegraph, page 11. A 5-year-old little boy whose father went to prison has been looked after by his grandmother ever since, really, he was born. And she obviously has taken on board this little boy as her own. And a court has just ruled that now that he's come out, that the father must regain parenting rights and be taken away from the grandmother. And obviously,
there's a great quote in there, isn't it? That an adequate but an adequate but blood relative is preferable to a really good.
Children should live with their biological parents. The immutable principle. And
even
that he
if they're
was
not very
adequate.
good.
He could provide his son with appropriate care. You do have to ask yourself, who are we actually dealing with?
Hang on a minute. What about rehabilitation, right?
I agree.
What about the fact that having been reunited with the son he's barely seen may, in fact, inspire him to be a better man? How can we possibly put grandparent rights above paternal rights? I think this is absolutely the right decision.
Well, I think I wasn't there, so I haven't heard the evidence, but I mean, it just...
Shouldn't it be judged on the merit of the person, though, rather than saying...
Of course.
Rather than saying,
child.
No, granted, but if he is out and wants to be a better person and it should be judged on the content of his character rather than his biological right. I mean, I agree with you. I think you're right.
While he was inside, he was denied access to his child, OK, by virtue of where he was.
Absolutely.
He's been punished for his crime, and now he's free.
Yeah, you're right.
No, that's not true, because the grandmother obtained custody but allowed the father to see his son.
OK, but he had he wasn't... Because he's in prison, he couldn't be a normal father.
Yeah, sure.
So he was denied that.
Doesn't he move in with the grandmother? And then...
I would have thought there must be a way in which they can both look after this little boy. So,
well, I do think the father's rights come first.
Well, she's appealing to the House of Lords.
I think the child's rights come first.
Yes.
And you don't know whether that boy wants that or not. And if the boy wants it, then it's one thing. But if he's not so...
She knows what she's doing.
OK.
Whatever Heather says, I'm agreeing with you.
Real singer, proper singer.
Yeah, real one, not pretend one.
Not a pretend one.
That's the real deal, ladies.
David, anything else?
This is a very sad story on page 21 of the Mail. And I think it really highlights the dangers of alcohol. And a student left disabled in drunken fall sues a school for £300,000. This is a girl called Amy St Johnston who attended Oundle School, which is a private school. She had been drinking heavily.
It was the summer ball, wasn't it?
A summer ball. She'd been drinking heavily. It was noted by the teachers who tried to, according to this, had tried to
twice they
sit
pulled her
her
into
out,
a room and calm her down.
made her cool down, and so on. The really sad thing is she was put into a room and she essentially leaned out of a window and fell and has become a paraplegic as a result. She can walk with the help of crutches. She's now suing the school because the window opened too far.
What about her own personal responsibility in all of this?
Well, you know, yeah, I agree. And in fact, since 1969, there's something called the British Standard Code of Practice, and the window above ground level should only open to less than 4 inches, and apparently it could do 3 times that. But you're right, you know, this is
personal
about...
responsibility. The school twice tried to sober her up.
Absolutely.
Both times she goes out on her own, willfully carrying on. I feel very, very sorry for her. Very sorry for her. But to sue the school when they seem to me to be showing a more than adequate duty of care, they were really on top of the situation.
I agree.
Over an open window.
Isn't this a bit like the Darwin Awards or something, though? Do you know what I mean? You know, I mean, with the greatest respect, I feel so sorry for anyone that has to endure that. But, you know, as you said, they tried to help her. I mean... Sometimes these things are a bit self-inflicted.
And accidents do happen. Okay. And, of course, under the influence, you're higher at risk. This is... Do you want a house? Do you want a house? Page 3 of the Daily Telegraph. A really lovely house, featured on Grand Designs. The guy who owns it can't sell it.
It's a box.
Yeah, it's got a subterranean bit here. I should think that's worth...
It's a box with a hole in front of it.
Yeah, but it's still... Well, if someone gave it to me, I'd be very happy with that. Thank you very much. It's worth about £800,000, and he can't sell it, so he's put it on Twitter. And basically trying to get people
Does it fit?
Twitter is a social networking site, and they're getting people to click onto the adverts, and if he can raise the revenue, he's going to give away the house.
Madonna, by the way, just been approved to adopt Mercy over in Malawi. Is Mercy a child?
Yeah.
Anyone want to say anything about that?
You knew she was going to.
Well,
It
I
was
think money
inevitable.
talks, doesn't it? Money talks and babies walk. Yeah. Sorry. After the ads, is jock a racist slur, as a Scottish pilot claims? No one we spoke to anyway, seems too sure of the origin of the word, but many brave Scots soldiers proudly call themselves jock. It's hardly on the same level, I would argue, as the N-word, especially as we're all friends in the UK, aren't we? So we can have a laugh at each other's expense sometimes, a sign that we're actually mates. 0207 173 5555 is the number for your thoughts. Am I being naive? Is jock a racist slur? You tell me in 3.
Members of Scottish regiments are proud to call themselves jocks. Is this true or is it false? Find out the answer after the break.